everyone. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Studs. Hey, Jim.
Hey.
How are you?
That's a loaded question.
Oh, Jesus. Why?
Well, let's put it this way.
62
years old.
Yes, you are.
I used to have...
And you don't look a day over 60.
I know. You're such a sweet guy. I used to have control of everything. But as you get older...
Control as in... Hold on a minute.
Well, I'm just going to go so far and then we'll let you mention.
We have a classy guest coming up.
I know.
So let's wrap this up.
So family came over last night.
Yeah.
We had hamburgers and hot dogs with sauerkraut and beans.
Yes.
It all came back to haunt me today.
Probably the worst was when we had to work with you.
No, well, in front of the customers when I was working
great.
with the kids right there on top of Baker Staging.
All right. Well, we lost another customer.
We did. We did.
All right.
Kids thought it was fireworks outside.
Well, I'm hoping we're in better shape right now, are we?
Yeah. No, they love me.
All right,
no,
good.
We're much closer now.
Oh, jeez.
They're just not going to invite me for hamburgers.
No, they're not. No, they're not. All right. Hey, listen, we got a guest.
Who is this lovely person who's laughing at me?
We have Karalynn Cromeens. She's an attorney out in Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So welcome to the show. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today and hopefully educate all of us on the laws as they pertain to contracts and remodeling and all that fun stuff.
We need you up here.
Yeah.
How can we bribe you to get you up here?
Oh boy, do we need you.
Oh boy, because we have disasters up here at times.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it does.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into this?
Yeah, so I've been a construction litigator for the last 17 years. But before that, I grew up in the construction industry. I'm actually from rural Illinois, is where I grew up. And my grandfather owned excavation companies, and my first jobs were for my uncle who had owned an irrigation company. So being around construction was where I grew up. And I wasn't necessarily went to law school to go into construction law. But then in my last year of law school, my husband and I started a material supply business. And so then I had to collect our money. I had to figure out how contract works. Became very personal because it was our business. And so then I really learned how to do it well. And now I do it well for, on the front end for all construction businesses.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Crazy how how it morphed into that.
It just kind of laid itself out for you.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. So
you've been doing it for 17 years?
Yes.
And the whole time out in Texas, or?
Yeah, I've been out in Texas. And actually, recently over the last year and a half, I've been reaching out to other states. I do contracts and liens and collections in all 50 states. And since my firm is licensed in 7 different states, and my goal is by the end of 3 years to be licensed in all 50 states.
No kidding.
Yes, that's
right.
Wow.
So that means you never want to sleep. You just want to do this like 24. And you won't be married anymore. You just live in a cubicle, and you'll be on a feeding tube.
Yeah.
All right, we're suing this one in Wyoming.
I want to be there to help you guys before you get in trouble, right? Owners and contractors, right?
Yeah.
And education, being proactive, contracts that work for both sides. That's kind of what I'm trying to push.
Gotcha.
And great people, so I don't have to do it all myself.
Right. Yeah.
So you're a what's the term again? Contract litigator? Is that what you said?
Construction, right?
Construction, construction, because a lot of what I do is draft contracts, solve problems, but then I do the litigation side as well. And mostly what I learned from the litigation side is that you don't want to be there.
Right.
Neither party wants to be there.
Right. No, they
you're
don't.
Absolutely right. But, and judges that I've heard of up here are like, neither one of you are going to win. This is not going to end well for either one of you. So they always say just get to arbitration, mediation, whatever you can, just to work it out and just walk away. But sometimes that dollar amount is too high to walk away from.
I get it.
Yeah.
And definitely take that in consideration as well as the dollar amount you're going to put in trying to get it.
Right.
So there's always, because in the courtroom, it's a gamble, and the best you can hope for is to break even, and that doesn't even cover your time.
Right.
I'd rather take your money and you go spend it in Vegas than spend it on years of litigation. I mean,
the
odds are about the same.
Yeah, they probably are. Right. You're absolutely right.
Do you do a lot of residential?
I do. I've done a lot of residential litigation on both sides. Recently, I've been working with more contractors to help them have contracts to keep them out of the litigation side, because I think there's a huge breakdown in the contractors being able to tell the homeowners what to expect. They can't do that. The homeowners have a set of expectations that aren't really in line with what's going to happen.
Correct.
And don't align, that's when. And so if we can get on the front end and be like very open about here's what you can expect,
right,
we're a lot less likely to end up in the place where we're, suing each other and hiring lawyers and all of that stuff.
Right. Now, here in Connecticut, we have something called the Connecticut Home Improvement Act. So do you have something similar to that in Texas?
We have what's called the Rekla Act, and it used to be something very similar to what Connecticut had, where they had a board that made decisions, but that part of it expired in 2006, and now it's just basically the homeowner it's way more. I've read yours. Yours is very, they have a lot of power.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ours is actually more contractor friendly, because it says the homeowner has to give you notice before they can sue you. Yours is, you're kind of the other. I mean, there's just a lot of power for a board to have to make decisions concerning contractors. You have to register, and there's a fine for not registering. That's a lot.
It's crazy up here. And it's an unfortunate thing. If you had asked me 10 years ago, did you think this was a good idea, the Connecticut Home Improvement Act? I would say, yeah, absolutely, because there's a lot of contractors who walked into some place, started just adding to the bill. The customer didn't know it, had to pay it, and it was not a good situation. And now I feel that a lot of the homeowners that know the law, they use it against the contractor. So they go and they will intentionally, text you and say, can you do this? Add this to the job, or can you do this? And if you don't have it in that change order form, it's null and void. So then they go, you know what? You never made me sign anything. So, and I don't know what it's like there, but the judges here are starting to come around, and they're like, listen, it's the Connecticut Home Improvement Act is not meant for the homeowner to hide behind. It's meant to make it fair for everybody. So, and nobody should expect work for free. They shouldn't. That's just not how it was written.
Especially, and that's the thing, is that I think the contractors out there that are intentionally trying to screw people or do a bad job are not. And you create this whole system of law for a very small portion.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
I think contractors generally want to do a good job and please people. Sometimes they have a breakdown in the communication, which is, obviously Connecticut requires the contract with your schedule and everything in there, which I think that part is definitely a good idea, right?
Yep.
Because when we don't have that, that's where we end up. But I think kind of overkill, and then owners find out, and then where I usually see it at states that require licensing and things like this is that last payment.
Yeah.
Whatever that last payment is, the punch through, and it's never done right, and then they're then they'll file a complaint, and then you got to go deal with that, and you're just
yeah,
a
lot of guys are getting out.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of guys are getting out. They've had enough, and they don't want to be chasing money on Fridays, and and it's just, and you're so right. It's just like that last one thing that they will hold that check, and I mean, it is sad. There was one guy that we personally know, who had a check that was held for, oh my God, almost 20 grand over a tub that was on back order. And she went and goes, well, by law, I don't have to pay you.
Yep.
I don't have to give you anything until it's complete.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want the whole thing. I just got to pay my guys.
Right.
And then we'll come back once it's that. No, would not pay him.
Yep.
That's just awful. That's just, you just created an environment that's just just get me out of here, And then it's tough because I'm hearing that a lot. He hears that a lot. The little guy, we have to say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you're a little guy, you are flat out busy. Your phone would not stop ringing, and you just couldn't keep up with it. And then all of a sudden, something happened. They all got together, and they get the little guy, and they just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And now and then everyone's going away.
And your prices go up, and nobody's going to be able to get work done.
Right.
So much.
We're already short in the construction industry of people that want to work, right? And then you hear a story like this for a contractor, or how many, the stress of the week, you need that check to make payroll. You start hitting up the owner on Wednesday, and you're begging by Friday because you got people to pay.
Right.
And it's just
and they don't care. I mean, and I truly think they still think, homeowners in general, that contractors make a ton of money and it's not like they're going to ever miss it. And we've got families to feed, we've got kids, we got everything else just like everybody else does.
It's the same thing when you go in a restaurant and they're booming.
Mhm.
They're making hand over fist on the money. You don't know the overhead. You don't know. You came at a busy time. They may be dead 4 days out of the week. They make the money on the weekends. Who knows?
Right.
You don't know.
What does it matter? If you did a good job, you deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
Thank
Right,
you.
right.
Correct. Thank you. We love you.
Yeah.
You'll be back on the show week after week.
Yeah, we may just record that one
that's
spot,
right.
just loop it
You
over
gotta
and
get
over again.
paid.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I've actually said to a customer once before, what did you used to do for a living? And he told me, I said, imagine going to work for the week and your boss was like, you did a great job, but I'm not paying you. I said, what would you do? He's like, I would be angry. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm saying. You're telling me I did a good job, but you're not going to pay me. But okay. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You didn't work like that.
Did you do that? Didn't a doctor come to you and say, hey, he wanted to not cut you some, didn't want to pay you the whole thing. All of a sudden he made a choice on what he wanted to pay you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, how about if you,
yeah.
How about you did a surgery on me and I said,
yeah.
You missed a few stitches on my kidney. Nah, I'm going to pay you.
It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. I just don't get it. I don't get it. So how did COVID work with you guys? I mean, I know up here we got a huge backlog of cases now because the courts were shut down. Same thing. Same thing there. Yeah.
And the other thing too is that you spend, like, if you're in litigation, you spend so much time waiting to get in court, and then all the discovery process and opening up all your books, taking a deposition. And I promise you, I know the story looks very clear in your mind of exactly how it went. Lawyers are good at their job. They're gonna spin it. They're gonna make it look different. And I know it's it's frustrating. And the whole hope is not to get there. So
right. So true. It's very, it's almost like, we as contractors get together and we talk. Of course, it's like if you're restaurant owners, you talk, and it's just like the safest thing to do. You want to let me just back up and say you want to expand, you want to advertise, you want to get more guys, you want to be out there, but you are dealing with so much gray area, and you may go into litigation, and you have to think of it. You're going to lose money. It's almost like you want to just make sure you just want to work word of mouth. You don't want to have a GoDaddy website. You just prefer to drive in a truck with no letters on it and just wait for the phone to ring because my aunt used me. You used my aunt. You cleaned my aunt's house, and we need. Can you come in? It's almost like you want to go that route, all word of mouth. But it leads to. It's that person that you don't know, that stranger that you don't know, on how it can just turn.
Well,
But it's interesting. The first time I ended up with a lawyer involved and everything else was from a referral.
Really?
Yep. He referred the customer to me. I'm like, really?
I've seen them both ways, right? And like,
yeah.
I became highly recommended. The one thing I can tell you is trust your gut.
Yes.
Always know. 90% of the guys that walk into my office said, I knew I shouldn't have taken that job.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely right.
Or they changed something in their process specifically for this client that they wouldn't normally do, or they did something extra that they wouldn't normally do. Those are the jobs that
is always the case.
Yeah,
you try to be a good guy and it bites you in the ass.
Yep.
Every time.
If you want to be a good guy, go support a charity, just not in the jobs.
Yeah. Right. No, you're absolutely right. It's funny that you say that, trust your gut. I think I've told you the story. I might have even said it on here too, is I met a lady. She calls up. I went out for an estimate and she started talking. She's like, I've had 3 other contractors work for me and I've taken them all to court and I've won. I'm like, yep, goodbye. I think I got to go. This isn't a good thing. And she was proud of it. I mean, she was like bragging to me, like I should be impressed by it. And I'm like, yeah, that means you're going to take me to court too. So no.
Yeah. I all of a sudden just got busy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Why isn't everybody going to hang my sheetrock? I don't understand why my sheetrock has
yeah, but no, you're right. You can usually tell. You can usually tell. And I've been fortunate enough to be busy enough that I can say no to certain people. And when you say no, they get angry and everything else. I'm like, what? That's fine. I said, I just don't feel like we're a good fit, and I think you need to find somebody else who's going to, be more on your level, and make it a much happier project for you because obviously, and they're like yelling at me and I don't even have a contract with them. I'm like, yeah, I was like, wow, okay, no.
So you totally deal with the contractor, really, not the homeowner. Is that correct?
No, she said she does both
You do
sides.
both
Yeah.
sides?
I deal with both. I've done both sides. More recently, it's been more contractors, and I'm talking to contractors from all over the country in the residential side, and they're just super swamped. And so they're all afraid of that client, getting that client and getting sued. And so we're like trying to do what we can to make sure that doesn't happen. And then when something comes up, like, okay, let's work through this. It's not everything you wanted. It's not everything they wanted, but something in the middle.
Sure.
That's what we're pretty good at. So, but yeah, I've worked, and then the homeowner side, a lot of the time it's just because it wasn't properly explained to them how the punch out process works, right? It wasn't properly explained to them.
Mm-hmm.
And we get lost in the weeds of, this isn't exactly what I wanted. And we're like, I'm not done yet. And they don't, they don't understand the whole process.
So true.
Right. No,
That
it's
is
very
so true.
There's like, this is wrong. This is wrong. It's like, no, we just weren't, you just wouldn't allow us to come back and finish, and if you did, and that's the other thing too, state of Connecticut is this way, everybody around us is different than Connecticut, but they do not have to give us the first right of refusal to come back and finish the job. They can go and hire somebody else, sue us for 3 times the cost, and that's just the way it is. But every other state around us, they all have the first right of refusal. You go back to your contractor, say, listen, will you fix this? Will you finish? And if he says no, then sue, do what you have to do. But give them an opportunity to finish the job. And if it doesn't come out fine, then great. Then you're back to where you were. But
that's terrible.
At least give them a shot. That's what I
absolutely agree. And so in my contracts, we put in the punch provision and say, once we do this punch, we have one punch list. One.
Yep. Yeah, smart.
Sign off, and then we're done, right?
Yeah.
And just explaining that process happens because this is the industry we're in every day. Mm-hmm. They are not in this industry every day, and they don't understand. And so I've had clients that didn't explain that get fired when they still had punch to do. And of course, they go to court, which is full of a bunch of homeowners, not contractors, and they show this scratched paint or this unfinished wall with bricks missing, and everybody's just like, oh. How could you possibly leave the property this way? You're like, dude, I just wasn't done yet.
Yeah. No, absolutely true. Absolutely true.
They don't see the forest because of all the trees.
Right.
It's yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And it's funny too. You say the punch list. She said one punch list.
I love that.
And you get that, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way.
No. There's no more by the ways.
Yeah. We had a guy recently. He's like, no, you don't see it. Well, when it's nighttime and the light shines on it, then you can see it. So then he takes out a flashlight and says, see, now you can see it. I'm like, no, you can't see it. I mean, it's just like, how much longer do I got to sit here and go over this imaginary list?
Well, and that's the other thing too to put in your contracts too is like standards. So the PCA has a standard of you have to stand back 4 feet, not with a flashlight over your back, of like, how do we judge these things, right?
Right.
They're very important thing.
Yeah, no, that's very important.
It's so funny. I got to go back to the punch list for a second because it's like that is really good, that you brought this up because I don't even know if you have that in your contract. Like
I don't think I do.
One punch list because, oh my God, I've lost so much profit being a nice guy. Like, hey, by the way, can you drive 25 miles and there's a little nick you missed over here.
Come do this.
Or I won't get to pay you, or I'm going to give you a bad review,
right?
Or something like that. I have to tell you a story. But it was a referral. I went in, and I painted the woman's kitchen. And when she was walking out, she looked over in the corner in the kitchen, and she saw that I cleaned up this corner in the kitchen, and I painted it. And she lost her mind. She was, oh my God, I was looking at that. I freaking hated that. You did that. Oh my God, the attention to detail. You're going to paint the rest of my house. And I did. I got there. I painted all the rest of her house. Long story short, 2 years later, I'm painting a study. I got to take the popcorn ceiling off the finished room. I got it all bandaged up, all plasticed off, everything else. And somewhere along the line on the back side of her couch, when I was moving something, there was a little streak of paint, latex paint. The little streak went on the leather of the back of the couch.
Yeah.
Not the front or the arm. The back. A little paint there. Yeah. You're fired. Never hired me again. All right. Guess you don't love me, do you?
No. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. But like the little things. That's a really good idea. The punch list.
I do like that. Yeah.
The one-time punch list.
Yeah. We're gonna have to talk about that a little bit later.
Well,
Yeah.
if you do it when they sign up, they know what to expect. They can have all of their stuff ready, and then this is when we're done. We do all the things, and you can even have you have your list. We're going through it. We're fixing it as we're going through.
Yep.
Done. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Because I see that all the time. It's this little thing. It's this little thing, and they're holding that last payment, and then you're finally just like forget it, and you're like you just walk away from it because you don't have to go out there for one more thing.
Oh.
I've settled the bill for less just to get out of there. So it does. Yeah. After a while, it just gets really annoying. So if you have a one list and you can get that, everybody agrees on it. That's a great idea.
Do you have a horror story that you can share that's not in litigation right now, or no one's going to get in trouble? Can you share something?
I mean,
anything. Whatever comes to mind. That, Yeah.
Oh, I have one right now.
There you
go. Is that we have a contract signed, they put a deposit up, and the contract doesn't have any what I call escape clause. Like, so basically you or the homeowner, once you sign the contract, you're locked in, right? Yeah. Well, all of a sudden they change their mind and now they want their deposit back.
Okay.
And the contract doesn't allow for that, but they're sending him a demand letter for the $20,000 back. And he said, hey, all right, I understand even though our contract doesn't allow this, I'll give you back what I haven't used, which is, I think he used 14 and he's going to give back 6. Yeah. And they hired a lawyer who sent over a demand letter for the full 20, which this lawyer knows. They're hoping that they're not going to go get a lawyer. And that's what I'm saying. And then, I talked to contractor and everybody's afraid. The worst thing you could get is a letter or phone call from a lawyer. And here's the thing I can tell you. As long as you don't ignore your certified mail, nothing in this process goes fast.
You're absolutely right.
You'll have plenty of time to respond. But the thing is that make sure you do respond. If you don't respond, it'll go very fast. They'll just take a judgment against you. It's when not responding that gets you in trouble. So I know everybody freaks out about the whole, and it is freaky, but we have time to wade through it, weigh our options. What are we going to do? And so just, be on top of it and have somebody there to, okay, here's my options. What are my options? What are we going to do?
Right. So what would you say is the best piece of advice you can give a contractor and a homeowner? And it may be the same.
No, yeah, absolutely. But get together and let's talk about expectations. All right. So for my contractors, what are you going to tell a homeowner? An honest schedule, right? I tell my guys, if you want to, if you finish early, you're a hero. You finish late, you're a zero. So always go long on the schedule. The possibility of change orders, right? That you're going to remodel. I'm going to rip into this wall. I'm really good at what I do, but I don't have X-ray vision, and this is a possibility, right? Not saying that it will happen, but this is what could happen. And payment terms. So if you have a bigger contract and you have milestone payments, what I do is have them issue an invoice that's due within 5 days, and if you don't pay it, I get to stop work. Because it might be very clear to you, the contractor, you've reached that milestone. To them, it's not so clear. Yes, they might think so, but they're not 100% sure. And so let's just clear that up. Here's how it's going to go, right? If there's an issue, I'm not saying you have to agree with them, but I'm saying go listen to the issue, come back, do an email. Here's the issue. Here's why I agree with you. Here's why I don't. Here's my outline plan. That you've taken it seriously, you've addressed it. The punch list is another big one for the final payment. In states that you can, I always try to get the biggest payments towards the front, leave the smallest and not all states allow that. I know California doesn't allow that. I don't think
really? Interesting.
That's great. We usually do a third, a third, and a third.
And so California, the biggest one you can get is $1,000 down. And you cannot be paid in advance for work.
Wow. See, I agree with that, pay in advance for work. I never charge any labor up front, but I do charge for materials up front because I go ahead and I place the order, and if they don't go through with the project, I'm stuck with all these materials if they haven't paid me for it. And I'm happy to give them all the materials once they come in if they don't want to go with me. But yeah, we always go for the, all the materials. That's interesting that you can't do more than 1,000 up front. That's crazy.
In California.
In California, yeah.
Oh, in California, basically, Connecticut has a little of this too, basically what has to be in your contract. Like California writes it for you. On the residential side anyways, yeah. There's a lot of different things. Like I said, it's so different across all the states of what's required. And so I've dove in and I've studied all of the lien laws for all 50 states. I'm working on all the contractor dispute ones. Most states have something similar, more similar to Texas, where it's right of first refusal to fix things before you can sue a contractor, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's you know, you think they'd be somewhat the same. They're very different.
That's crazy. I know. Yeah. Lobbyists and whatever else comes into play.
You love this stuff, don't you? You just love this stuff.
Who?
She does.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Look what we got here.
Look, you know, I want to let you know, right? I want to let you know what the rules are, and understand where the pitfalls are.
Right.
Yeah, no, and you know, you're absolutely right. And any contractor who's starting out should go see a lawyer about their contract that they're using. You know, and that's obviously where you give them the most, you know, benefit right up front, is to say, listen, let's get your contract right, make sure it's, you know, inclusive of everything. You know, I sent my contract out to the Department of Consumer Protection here in the state, and I asked him to review it, and he actually got back to me and said, this was the best contract I've ever seen, and it's only because I have added things, you know, throughout the years, 16 years. You know, I add another clause here, I add another clause there, whatever I can. I stick with the Connecticut Home Improvement Act, you know, the terminology and stuff. So, you know, obviously, you know, going to see, you know, any contractor that's listening, that's, you know, starting out, go see a lawyer first. You know, don't do it after you get, you know, a letter from another attorney and then try to backtrack and, you know, fix it for moving forward. Just get it right from the beginning. You would agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you have a great point, is that it's your contract. It's a living and breathing thing. As things happen, you can change it and modify it. And here's the thing I think everybody misses too. Everybody thinks that there's got to be some sort of magic a la peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in there to make it effective. And it's just plain English. Be plain English. That's all it has to be. And actually, the clearer it could be, the better off you are, because then there's no question about what you're saying.
Right.
And so it's your document, and prove it and make it what you want and what's important to you. You know, like if it's important that the dogs don't get out, that you're not responsible for the dogs getting out or trampling. I mean, the small things.
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. You know, if it's in there, it covers you. So they sign it, you know, although, you know, I will say, you know, I have a remodeling company. I also have a handyman division. So the handyman division, we charge, you know, by the hour. So at the end of the day, the customer signs off as to how many hours the guys were on site, and, you know, it's everything's okay. And then I get the people that will be like, well, I'm not paying you. I'm like, well, you signed the form for the day. Well, I didn't agree with it. I just signed it. I'm like, well, you can't say it after you signed it that you don't agree with it. You do that before you sign it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
it's really funny.
Still waiting for money from that person.
In the conversation that as we're talking about it, and we talk the basics. You know, we talk about how the contract is the foundation of the job, which everyone can fall back on, because the relationship between the contractor and the homeowner can start off as a wonderful romance. As far as, I'm so glad you're here. There's coffee on the counter. Please have some.
Yeah.
So glad you're coming. And after 3 weeks on the job, and they're sick of the dust, and they're sick of the dirt and everything else, they'll just like, nope, didn't have time to make coffee. Take your shoes off. Put the stuff up.
Yeah. When are you leaving?
When are you done?
When are you
It's
leaving?
gonna take all day.
Are you done yet?
Right.
You're getting into their most personal space too, right?
I know.
Absolutely.
Schedule is so important. When are you going to be done? I want to know when you're
Right.
And just like whatever I can plan for, just, you know, my house is not dusty, and I can have people over to see the beautiful things that you've done, right? Looking for.
Yeah. Now, in Texas, you know, in other states that you're currently working with, are you seeing a trend where contractors are getting a little bit more protected, or do you still see that the homeowner is still the one kind of calling the shots?
I see. They're trying to strike a balance. I think Connecticut's way over on the homeowner side. So like every state has a little something that needs to be in the contract to try to explain all this stuff to homeowners to give them some protection, right? And most states have the 3-day right to cancel and things like that. But also most states too have the right of first refusal, all the things that give you a chance to do that. And if the homeowner doesn't do that, there's penalties, right? And so it's really a chance to bring everybody together before litigation. And most times we can settle. Most times we can settle through that process.
Okay.
You know, if everybody's willing to be reasonable. And now if somebody's just out for blood and is doing, don't ever do anything on principle. But if they're out for principle, just forget about it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Principle's entirely too expensive. Let's spend it someplace else.
Have you ever had the instance? Because I've heard of this, where the homeowner decides not to pay the contractor, and the contractor shows up at like 3:00 in the morning and starts taking the siding off the house because he's not going to get paid, or they start to vandalize and just start taking stuff off because they didn't get paid. Have you heard any of that? Have you ever seen that? Or
So in some states allow it, some states don't. So like I've done it for a client in the past, and it was actually it was a commercial project. They had done all the lighting, and it was an event venue, and they had parking lights, lights inside. And he was owed like 60 grand, and they won't pay him. And we found out that they were getting ready to open. They had all these events planned. And so we sent over a letter, say, hey, because under Texas law, if it doesn't hurt the improvement to go take it, I can take it. So I couldn't take the wiring, but I could take the fixtures.
Wow.
And so the threat of doing that obviously was enough to get it paid. Because yes, you can, in most states you can do that, but you have to, it's not going to be worth as much, right? It's more of a threat than it is. It's leverage to get paid as opposed to actually getting your stuff back that you got to go resell. Like the externally AC units are a big one that I know they're usually easily to repo, any appliances, anything, stuff like that. Normally, if you haven't been paid, you can go get those back.
Yeah, I like that. That would just make me feel better. For nothing else. Spite is fine for me. Yeah.
Some protection.
Yeah,
I got a good one. I got a really good one.
Yeah.
If they decided we're not going to pay, go, all right, you're right. All right, I'm going to go in there. All right, I'll paint the third coat on the walls. All right, will you be happy with that? And then you come in there with like a purple.
Yeah.
You paint the walls when they're at work.
Then you end up in jail.
Right, goodbye.
And they sue you. Yeah.
I'm going to move to Texas, and she's going to be my lawyer.
Now, do you guys have change orders? Is that what you guys work off of too?
Yeah, we definitely have change order. It's not required by law, but the rule is if we have a contract in writing and we don't have in writing to modify it, then that's what it is, right?
Yeah. Right.
Contractors get screwed all the time that they don't.
Yep.
They asked for it. I was trying to be nice and I did it, and then of course they're like, well, your contract says change order and you didn't, so now I don't.
Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating. Oh.
And so I'm like, have one of those, receipt books from Home Depot or from Office Depot in your car. Just a text, an email, something.
See, that I wish would work here.
Doesn't work that way.
A text or an email does not work. It has to be on that change order. So, and it's really not fair because it's obviously they're giving you the approval to go ahead and do stuff, but yeah. So that's good. At least it works out there.
Yeah, exactly. But, we're way more the wild, wild west. We don't have to be. Most states do require contractors to be licensed somewhere. Texas does not. So,
we just have a registration. Yeah. We just have a registration. The contractors here don't have to take tests. They don't have to show that they understand codes or anything else. It's anybody can be one, and this is a place where, at one point, guys would go out and do a job and, they would do a horrible job and they would change their name and, close the business. And it was easy enough. You just, was like, just pay us another $220 and we'll let you open up another business. That's fine. There was like nothing holding these guys back, just to keep changing and just doing, horrible work. So, so I get it. I get it.
But I think in now and day and age, if somebody does horrible work or's got a bad reputation, it's going to be out there, right?
I think so. Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you do a little bit of effort, you can find it, right?
Right. I mean, obviously there's cities out there and stuff, but for the most part, a lot of people live in small towns, and we do here, and there's a lot of small towns around here, and people, see the trucks, they see the name, they, I'm fortunate enough to have a place right on Main Street with a sign, so they know I'm not going anywhere. I'm not a fly-by-night kind of guy. So, it definitely does catch up to you, I think, in the smaller towns and amongst people talking, especially in today's world too, social media, Facebook pages, especially the Facebook community pages, they'll tear a guy apart, tell everybody don't use this guy. And that's it. He's done, for a lot of people.
And also when you, like, if I'm going to go look at a job, I've had customers going, oh my God, I hired this fence company. They are horrible. They never showed up. It's good for me to know that, even though there's two sides to the story. However, you really get the side of the homeowner. They just took the money and ran. Mm-hmm. It's good for me to know, because if I came to your house and you say, hey, a fence guy? I go, I know who you're not going to use.
Exactly.
Oh, do I know a fence guy?
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it does get around. We get,
Now, something that Jimmy brought up on another show too. do you recommend that a contractor check with the town and see if any liens have been placed on the house, before they start work, or is there anything that they can look into?
It definitely shows their history if they have a non-payment issue.
Mm-hmm.
And just, yeah, you can look and see if they've been paid. Everybody's been paid, and that way if like guys before you haven't been paid and they filed liens, it's probably a red flag. And then you could even reach out to the contractor and find out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm sure they'd definitely be willing to tell the story of what happened.
There is a website out there, and it just has not taken off. But some contractor came up with it. It's basically contractors can go online and give reviews of customers, which I think is an awesome idea. But I'm sure there's got to be some legalities to that. That's probably not
for drivers rating the riders, right? Same thing.
Right? Yeah, I think so.
Well, we had a customer, and she said the contractor, he showed up, I paid him. He come back, I'd pay him for the material, and one day he wasn't feeling well, and he just never showed up again. I go, because he's dead. He died. His tools are here. You got free tools. Unless you killed them.
Well, on that happy note. What's
this new patch in the cement? Oh my God. Yeah.
So how do people find you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the CromeensLawFirm.com. I own a nonprofit called the Subcontractor Institute, where I have all the lien rules for all 50 states.
Oh, cool.
Also, for contractors, I teach for commercial contractors. I wrote a book called Quit Getting Screwed about all the bad things that are in commercial contracts, and I teach those 20 chapters on there for free. So, and I always have consultations for free, have tons of blog articles out there and lots of free content on YouTube and all the things.
Where do you find the time?
Oh my God, you're amazing!
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
I have a mission. I gotta make this. I gotta bring people back to the construction industry, right?
I love it. Yeah, maybe back to the day of a handshake. Yeah, remember
those
that
days?
But we're gonna get something in the middle.
Okay, good.
Don't ever ask a lawyer not to have a contract. It's just.
Right. That's very true. I understand. Yes.
Wow.
Well, Karalynn, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. It was definitely a learning experience. I thought it was good for both.
I think
contractors and homeowners.
I think you should open up a university. I really think you should. I think you should teach people how to do what you do, because there's just not enough of you. You are a jewel. I have to say, I'm touched. This is like really good. You say things that we'd like to hear, but also for the customer too,
Yes.
That whole thing. It's not just about us. It's about everybody getting along and everybody going like, hey, awesome job. High five it,
Exactly. Awesome.
So,
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, you're welcome back anytime. I understand there's probably other topics we can talk about. So everybody, stay tuned. We'll probably see Karalynn on the show again.
Yeah, man.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Join us next week.
For something.
Awesome. Way to finish the show. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.